presentation is called Dump Dairy. As we know, the month of June is National Dairy Month. And so just want to talk to you about dumping dairy. Why? Because dairy is scary. And so, in that, I'm just going to talk to you about my personal journey in going whole food, plant-based, vegan. And just wanted to give you some tips. Maybe you're wondering how you can start your own journey, or you've maybe in the midst of the journey and just have some questions. In doing so, just a little bit about me and my health eating journey. I moved to the Pacific Northwest back in the summer of 2018. And at that time, I really didn't recognize that life was life, and it's many of the youth say today. And I had gained weight, a lot of weight. And I was 269 pounds when I got connected with the primary care physician. And so, right away, because I'm a nurse by trade, I knew I needed to do something about what was happening in my body. And so I went on this health journey. I first started out just doing all the fad diets, the keto, the Atkins, the counting the calories, doing the MyFitnessPal app, doing all these things. And I did lose 30 pounds, but when COVID happened in 2020, I gained 20 pounds of the 30 pounds back. And so what did that tell me? It was not a lifestyle change. And so, because of that, I said, what is it that I really needed to do? So, I went ahead and I started just doing pilots of veganism, like because I'm of Christian faith. So, I would do the Daniel's fast. I would go ahead and try like meatless Mondays. And I did all these different things. And finally, when 2023 came, I said, this is my year to be free. And so I went ahead and went whole food plant-based. And along with that, I did a class called Best Way, and it was through the Seven-Day Adventist Church. And I took that class 3 times, and it was a 10-week session each time. And so I really gained a lot of education with that 10-week class. We went over like all the food groups, we went over cholesterol, we went over just practical tips of how to adopt a lifestyle change. And so the Adventist Church does promote plant-based living and veganism. And so it was just really a helpful tool for me to be able to adopt this lifestyle. And so with that, as you can see in my picture here, in 2018, I was in a size 24. And today, this picture, I'm in a size 14. And what that equated to was actually a 50-pound weight loss. And so it was significant, but the most achievement, why I feel so good about it, is that not only did I lose the 50 pounds, but I also have maintained the 50 pounds off. And so that's what is most important to me, because I knew that I could lose weight, but a lot of times you see people lose the weight, but then how do you maintain the weight off? And so it's really is key to have a healthy lifestyle change. And so for me, going whole food plant-based, adopting that vegan lifestyle is what did it for me. And so I was able to adhere to the regimen. Again, I was supported by a class, and I continue even today, and it's 2025, and I don't plan on turning back. And so when I think about my why, the larger picture, like what is my why? I think about my parents. My parents were both born in rural parts of Alabama. My dad was from Tuskegee, Alabama, and he was actually born and raised in Alabama, and migrated to Indiana through the Great Migration, when the steel mills in Indiana were really booming. He came up to Indiana for working. And then my mom, she migrated from Alabama, her family, when she was a small child. And so they met later on in life. But what's so significant, and when you look at studies about the southern parts of the U.S. and the healthcare system, you'll find that there is much more sickness and chronic disease in the southern parts of the U.S. And especially when we look at health disparities. And so both of my parents had chronic disease. My mom actually succumbed to her chronic disease in her early 60s, and so she's deceased. But my dad is still living, but he has a lot of chronic disease. And so when I had went to a nutrition day conference back in March here in Oregon, this pictorial was shown on one of the PowerPoints, and it really spoke to my why. Because as a small child, I remember my parents having chronic disease, and it just shows the prevalence of chronic disease in people in the US. And this pictorial is from 2020, looking at chronic disease in America. There's about 6 in 10 adults in the US that have chronic disease, and 4 of 10 adults in the US have 2 or more. And when you look at the top chronic diseases, those leading causes, it's heart disease, it's cancer, chronic lung disease, stroke, Alzheimer's disease, diabetes, and chronic kidney disease. And let me tell you, so that's directly um, what my mom, she had heart disease. She also had Alzheimer's disease. She also had stroke. My dad, he suffers with diabetes, chronic kidney disease. As we know, that diabetes leads to chronic kidney disease. And so when I think about my why, it's like I really want people to be healthy today, like now, like yesterday, really. And because our African American people, we're dying early age, and the healthcare costs are just exuberant, okay? And we have so many health disparities. And so it's just so unfortunate that we have so many things that we're combating against. And so the key lifestyle risks for chronic disease are tobacco use, poor nutrition, lack of physical activity, and excessive alcohol use. And so we'll talk about, of course, the poor nutrition. I did also want to mention, in addition to my whole food, plant-based lifestyle, I also did incorporate exercise. So every day I have a regimen. Every day I get up and walk my dog 30 minutes a day. I'm getting out. And then in addition, I also do a Zumba class at least twice a week. I also like to get outdoors. I like to hike and do other things. So increasing your exercise is also important to the regimen. So, food for life. I guess you say, what is food for life? So, I really didn't know what food for life was. It was back in April of 2024. I met Dr. Neil Bernard, who is here in the picture, and he was talking to us. He came to Portland, Oregon at the Powell's bookstore, and he was talking to us about one of his many books. He has over 20 books that he's written, and he was talking to us about the research and the Power Foods diet. And he started talking about Food for Life. And essentially, Food for Life is an award-winning program that teaches nutrition education and cooking classes. And it helps to reduce diet-related chronic diseases, okay? And so when he started talking about the Food for Life instructor program, and it's basically an 8-week program that you can go through and receive additional training in nutrition and be able to teach classes. And I was just like, what? And so, needless to say, it was for me. I said, this class is for me. Food for Life is for me. And so, along with that, I was kind of on a fast track where I not only became a Food for Life licensed instructor, I also started my own business, Grandma Lou's Wellness. And so now I'm able to coach others. I'm a plant-based coach, and I coach others in their journey along the way. So, since we're talking about dumping dairy, I just wanted to bring a couple of things and highlight a couple of things about how you want to go about dumping the dairy. So, first, I always tell people know your body, know your symptoms, know what's going on with you when you're intaking different foods. Essentially, a plant-based diet is highlighting 4 food groups. It covers fruits, grains, legumes, and vegetables. Okay, so no dairy is included in a plant-based diet. And so when you are intaking dairy, you'll probably notice like some skin changes, stomach cramps, gassiness, inflammation, high cholesterol. You probably notice like a lot of different things. As you can see on the right, in the pictorial, it talks about what happens when your body intakes dairy. And so we're talking about milk, eggs, cheese, so any forms of dairy. So you notice like your skin. So that's one of the things when I went plant-based, I noticed my skin has cleared up. I don't have as many breakouts. Even my teeth are stronger and cleaner. I just went to the dentist the other day and she said, you barely have any tartar on your teeth. And, so that's just a testament, like, to have pink gums and great teeth. I'm like really excited about that. And you just see really improvement in your body. So know your numbers. What is your cholesterol number? And be able to incorporate those healthy lifestyle changes. So know your swap. You want to have sustainable choices. You want to have whole foods, alternative ingredients, and plant-powered meals. So when we talk about the dairy alternatives, of course, you probably heard of these different types of milks. You can have an almond or oat, a soy, a hazelnut, coconut, or rice milk. And what you will learn is that the different milks you may use for different things. Like for me personally, I use almond milk for my cereals and for my smoothies, whereas I might use a rice milk for um, the actual to cook in pastas or even cornbread and coconut milk. I'll use that in a smoothie because it has a little sweeter taste to it. And so you'll learn like for your milk alternatives what it is that you will like to swap. And the same thing, cheese, they have all these different brands. The Daiya brand is one that I use frequently. They actually changed their formulary where they use oat um, replacements in their cheese, and it does melt. You just have to know how to cover the foods and allow it to melt. Even just for the holiday, I had Beyond the Meat burgers, and I put the Daiya sliced cheese over it and allowed it to melt over it on the grill. Um, and using like nutritional yeast instead of Parmesan and learning there's even like a cool dip. It's called bitchin sauce in the stores that you can buy. And you can use that as alternatives for, say, sour cream if you want like a chipotle sauce. And it's actually made out of the base is almonds and they add different spices. And so just learning what those dairy alternatives are that you choose, and even like using different types of tofu, like for egg. I've had some delicious tofu scrambles in different recipes, and then even using a dairy-free butter or applesauce, like when you're baking. And those things still do rise. Even like I've made cornbread, swapping out butter and milk. So never think that you are suffering or missing out on anything because dairy, there are alternatives that you can use. So, another thing that I would say is while you're going through this process, make sure you journal your journey. You want to list one or two successes or even more if you have, so that you understand like what is going right. And then as you learn to do that, you also learn to do a keep, stop, start exercise. So, like, what do you want to keep about what you're doing? What do you want to start? What do you want to stop or start? So that you can understand what your new normal will look like. You want to write down your difficulties that you might have encountered during the process and discuss with other vegans, get connected with the group if you're not connected, or get connected with a plant-based coach like me. So you want to make sure that you write down your journey and journal. Talk about different meal and recipes that you've tried, or and let others know like how they turned out if you had a success, and then ask others about your success. Thank you for this opportunity, and I hope that you stay connected. Again, my name is Lunette Lott. I'm a nurse by trade, also a food for life instructor. I do coach either one-on-one sessions or group sessions. You're able to connect with me on my website. I also have a YouTube channel. I'm on LinkedIn, also Facebook and Instagram. So if you have any, just go to social media, connect with me. You can send me an email. Looking forward to talking with you later. Bye.